In a lot of high schools, it's reading is kind of looked down upon, especially for guys.
I don't think it's looked down upon. I think it's people overlook it. People are just done with reading because we have movies now and internet and everything else. Reading's sort of become obsolete. It's a thing of the past. So people overlook it and then they say that they're not readers. Why would they read if there's gonna be a movie? I don't know, some crap like that. It's just bogus.
I remember when I was little, my mom used to read me stories. We'd go to the library every week, and she'd bring home a big stack, and she'd read to me every afternoon. And I've been reading ever since there, nonstop, I think, for my entire life. And I just couldn't imagine my life without books. I work at the library now. I'm in Prince Club, and I love it.
Until a few years ago, there was no award, especially for young adult literature. Michael Prince was a school librarian. The award was named after him. I think the award began in 2000, 1999, 2000, around then. So it's about 6 years strong now. I call it the Newbery Award for teenage books, and most people kind of know what that is.
I think it's a really good book. It's really interesting because it's not like most books. And
The Prince Club is a group of teenagers who like to read or think they might like to read. The idea for me is not only to have teenagers read books, but to form a group such as the Prince Club that would pattern somewhat after the Prince Committee, who would read books together and discuss books together week after week and month after month and begin to evaluate them together and ultimately go through as much of the same process as we can that the actual Prince Committee does.
And, like, look at the actual writing compared to the writing of some other books that we like. I think we're going to realize it's not award material. I think
We have, over a period of 4 years, been through many books together, shared many opinions, disagreed quite a lot in written form on our online forum, and then verbally too. And it's a way of getting to know each other and enjoying the ways we are alike and the ways that we are different, and that's all coming out of the books that we read.
It's one that you kind of read it and then you want to immediately go back and reread it.
I've been in Prince Club for 4 years since I was a freshman here, and I have always liked reading. So having a club that I can go and read books that aren't even out in circulation yet is just an amazing thing for me because I get to be the first one to see it, and I can decide which ones I like and which ones I don't like and which ones I can recommend that people go see when they actually do come out. It's cool.
Well, I think it's kind of cool just because each person can read whatever they want to read, and there's no deadline, and nobody's rushing them, and they can just read it at their own speed, and you can just read whatever type of book you like.
Because they're new books, you have a whole variety of genres, and you have just different varieties where drama, there could be romance novels, there could be maybe some vampire stories or just different types, and you get to explore all these genres with people who enjoy reading as much as you do.
If you haven't already read the series, you need to read the series because this is the
I
best
think it
series I
is
have read.
hugely
It beats Harry
important for
Potter,
teenagers to read young adult literature. In fact, when I was a teenager, there was actually some young adult literature too, and I have to say I grew up never having heard of it, not any of it. And so I do think it's important for them to learn about it, and once they start reading, and the main characters are teenagers just like themselves often, with the same kinds of problems they have, or problems that they know in others or have heard about. And it really does open a new world in terms of discussion. It's not difficult to get them to discuss the books at all because they can relate right away to the books. They might have strong negative or positive reactions, but they are willing to talk about it right away. And that's one reason that I think it's important for learning more about themselves, each other, and that there's a whole other kind of literature out there that they may not be aware of.
My mom always said that reading makes you smarter, I guess, and I don't know if it does, but I guess I really didn't start reading until I was like 10, and from there I've read off and on, and I was in Prince Club last year, and it's cool because like Amanda said, you get to read new books, and I've always read old books that have been out already, and seeing new books from our time, modern, our kind of language, especially when it's directed towards the teens, it's different and it's cool, and you get to see different points of view. Definitely, you learn, I guess you broaden your horizon. You become more open-minded to things because you've read these different viewpoints, and with the discussion groups you meet new people, and you really get a feel for not only your opinion and where it stands, but other people's opinions, and a more understanding of things and life in general, because these books really, they have some life lessons in them, and they're good.
We have a lot of teachers, given that our young adult reading is so big here, who have started to come in and said, all right, I want to try some of this young adult literature. And we had a couple who just finished reading Looking for Alaska. They heard the students talking about it. They knew it won the Prince Award, and they said, I want to understand about this. And they do. They get it. They'll come in, and they are ready to talk about it. And what's cool, too, is that the students see that the teachers are reading the books, and all that connecting just makes it expand even more.
I think it's important for me to be seen because I think a lot of students, since I teach science, don't really relate science with reading. And so I think it's important for students to broaden their horizons and not just stick with one certain thing, and read more, learn more, expand their knowledge, and just be creative, have an imagination. So we have the Yacht Club, Young Adult Club, where they kind of choose young adult books that they want to read and kind of, I read this book, I think we should read it, and so we do that. Like, one of the books that we read was Speak, which is an amazing book. So for the Yacht Club that we had some faculty members come, and we also had students that came, and it was just kind of a sharing and collaboration time about a different book.
Teachers and students just happen in. Teachers might come in with their classes. They might be studying something in particular. Let's say a group that was studying the Holocaust. I might say, a fabulous book just came out, The Book Thief. You've got to read it. Let me show it to you. Get a teacher interested in it. Maybe a student or two hears about it, and there you go. The teacher might come in later. Oh, I love that. What else could I read? Sometimes what we're reading and what they're talking about may or may not have anything to do with what they're studying. They're all about talking about the Da Vinci Code. They're reading that. The movie's going to come out. And I think part of it is with the students and with the teachers to allow that it's okay to not pigeonhole ourselves into that I'm just going to give you the books a librarian might recommend and only the classics, and that a science teacher could only talk about science books. It's really fun when they suddenly hear us talking about other books and they get the idea that not only are we reading and talking about them, that they kind of have permission to do the same thing, and it opens everything up. And that's kind of how we do it.
We do a subject or a content unit on weathering, erosion, and so forth, and we talk a lot about how the poor practices of the past led to the Dust Bowl. And I was like, there's got to be a way to bring this alive for the students so that they realize that this event wasn't just something between the pages of their science textbook. And Ms. Brentley said there's this great book, Out of the Dust. It was Newbery, which I did not know what Newbery meant, Medal Award winner, and she enlightened me about the book, and she works with me every year, and it really does bring out the experiences of someone who was actually living during the Dust Bowl. So the students realized this was an actual event, that it really did affect lives and that there were consequences, and then they can connect that to what we're studying in class. So science actually is now outside the classroom. It's a real event, and to be quite honest, we have students who are more historically inclined, who love history, we have students who love reading, and so it really does bring all those multiple intelligences into the classroom. And anytime you can get students excited about learning, you can bridge the gap to the content that you're working with. So those students really do enjoy coming to class because they see it as something relevant. I think that as a teacher, sometimes we have to take risk. We have to step out our own comfort zones and speak, and also, think outside the traditional avenues. And if we're doing that and the students are enjoying it and they're learning, and you can assess learning, then I think it's a win-win for everybody.